Well, welcome everyone. I will open up the September meeting of the Sustainability Committee. We have a quorum today, so we can actually do some official business. One of which is to approve the minutes from our last meeting.
So moved.
Oh, we have a move. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, a second. Is there any discussion? Jamie sent those out a week or so ago. I think she captured. And we were just talking about it. These recorded meetings really help in crafting minutes, so it's nice. So with that, since we have a quorum and they're all in the room, we can just do a raise of hands,
We sure
right?
can.
Yeah. Okay, all in favor?
Thank you.
All right. The next agenda item is to approve the agenda. We don't have a whole lot in front of us. Sustainability Day has taken a lot of time for Jamie's work, and so we're limited, but we have a featured speaker who wants to talk to us about commercial PACE, which is property assessed clean energy is what PACE stands for. And I'll let James describe more, but I'm proposing that we move his segment to the front of our agenda.
Second.
We got a second. All in favor? All right, James, you are on, big guy. James is a welcome addition to Efficiency Maine. What, now a year?
A year plus, close to
Okay.
18 months. It's moving quick.
Been a ride, huh? Well, James is our senior program manager. Well, I'm taking my Efficiency Maine hat. James, would you introduce yourself?
Yes, absolutely. I'm the senior program manager for finance initiatives for Efficiency Maine. My two key areas are the Efficiency Maine Green Bank and the CPACE program. I actually have a little bit of a deck that I can jump through. Would that be the most efficient for everybody?
You're running the show.
Alrighty, let's do it. And sorry, I'm moving people's faces around on my. All right, can you see?
Perfect.
Okay, so as I had mentioned, I think you may be all familiar with Efficiency Maine. We're an independent quasi-state agency. We obviously provide various rebates, financing, technical information, customer engagement. We're funded from a number of sources and have a board that's appointed by the governor and confirmed by the legislature. We do a lot of activity in commercial as well as residential programs. Over the last few years since 2021, there's been more of a push to add financing as an option or as a facilitator to help adopt these different technologies that are associated with Efficiency Maine rebates. So the easiest way to describe what the Efficiency Maine Green Bank is that it's an umbrella for all of our different finance products, and it is designed to connect customers to energy efficiency measures, essentially building a bridge or finding what is that one key piece that's missing or needed to be able to make that energy efficiency product more attainable to the market. Now, that doesn't have to just be residential customers. That can be municipalities, it can be commercial buildings. We're looking to fill market gaps in every measure, in every scale. So a subset of the Efficiency Maine Green Bank, or one of our finance initiatives underneath the Green Bank umbrella, is the CPACE program. So PACE stands for Property Assessed Clean Energy, and really it is a financing mechanism. In no way is the program intending for a municipality or even for Efficiency Maine to put up capital for these projects. The municipality is simply allowing the CPACE program within their municipality. They have to opt in. Once they do so, that would allow private transactions between capital providers and borrowers to commence. The municipality would need to participate in those projects in a small way, and I'll circle back to that. But once a municipality has adopted the program, essentially there's private transactions between a capital provider and a borrower that are in which the capital provider is able to place a lien on the property associated with the taxes for that property, thus providing a very secure position in the property, which means they're able to provide longer payment terms and also better rates. So the borrower who's interested in whatever in the CPACE world, we call them energy savings improvements. The borrowers is more likely to be able to afford that retrofit project because of the long term length, or because of the lower interest rates, or in new construction, the borrower is more likely to make that energy savings improvement. So this is all about aligning capital providers and borrowers with the choices that we're hoping they make as a state and as a municipality, which is adding more energy savings improvements to their properties. So this is really just a quick representation of the triangle of benefits. The municipality opens up the opportunity, the capital provider gets a very secure position in the property, and so the borrower is able to get better rates, and so then the municipality gets more economic development and gets more energy savings improvements within their municipality. CPACE is available across 35 states, 36 states, with a number of municipality-based programs as well. It is well into the billions of a market size now. Primarily, the projects have been energy efficiency. Early on, a little background of the program is that it was really one of the first financing mechanisms for solar, because solar had a long useful life. So it used to be very solar heavy in the like 2012, 2015 time period. And since then it has emerged with more energy efficiency projects across the country. That also has to do with a little bit with the understanding and availability of different technology types. And about 14% of all of the projects are in CPACE are based around new construction. So that means that about 85% are retrofit projects. This is just a little bit of our journey. The legislation for the CPACE program was adopted in 2021. We spent part of my coming on board was spending a really significant amount of time doing research and gathering stakeholder input and designing the program. We adopted our rules earlier this year, and now we have 3 municipalities participating, 3 capital providers registered, and the project application portal is live. So the program's open for business, and we have 3 or 4 projects that are kind of imminent for submitting their applications. And we have inquiries from a number of other projects. We also have another 10 municipalities that are, I would say, in a similar stage as Scarborough to exploring and adopting the program. Many of which are in the final phases of adopting the program. Here's some helpful resources if any are interested in reading up. I think probably the most influential was the Lessons in Commercial PACE Leadership: The Path from Legislation to Launch from the U.S. Department of Energy. But here, this is just a number of publications over the years that show a little bit about a history of CPACE programs, the what works and the what works better. Our main administrative design hurdle was to preserve a low administrative burden. We wanted to enable third-party capital providers to manage the processes that they're used to managing without the municipality having to collect payments from different projects and remit those to the capital providers. So we've kept the program as simple as possible for municipalities, largely at the request of municipalities. But we still wanted to make sure that we were able to provide that quality assurance and the integrity of the program. So I feel like we've landed in a very positive place with that, and so far I've had some great feedback that it is not a heavy lift for a municipality to participate. There's technically two pathways by which a municipality can participate. One is that the municipality can essentially design their own program. They can create their own program guidelines, register their own capital providers. Their program has to meet the rule that we have adopted for the state, and also has to meet the criteria established in the enabling legislation. But technically, a municipality could go and administer their own program. That would be quite a significant administrative lift for a municipality. That door is open as a possibility. No municipalities have pursued it for a couple reasons. One is it would be very cumbersome. And two, capital providers do not typically want to go and review an entirely new program to be able to finance one or maybe two projects. The quantity in CPACE is not extremely high. This is more of a smaller set of projects, but they will be larger in size and scale. So it would be likely that capital providers would not participate in such a small program, even if the largest municipalities in Maine were to look at that particular avenue. It would be unlikely that they would be able to register capital providers and thus wouldn't be able to move projects through. Even municipalities like New York and Atlanta have trouble moving projects through their particular municipalities, and obviously they're of significantly greater size than any in Maine. So the other option is for the municipality to enter into an agreement with the trust, with Efficiency Maine, and for us to serve as the program administrator, which means that our program guidelines and set of documentation will prevail. And also the capital providers that we register are able to participate. So when a capital provider is looking at Maine, they can say, great, these 10 municipalities are all already participating in one program with no key differences. Then they're able to open their marketing net and try and find projects within all those municipalities, and it's more likely that more projects participate. Moving to more of some of the logistics of what a CPACE assessment in a lien looks like is that a CPACE lien takes the first position aside from any municipality liens. So municipal sewer, municipal taxes, water districts, those are all in first position. However, CPACE does slice in front of any existing mortgages, liens, or encumbrances that are not municipal liens. So CPACE is interestingly almost like a hybrid between a mortgage and a municipal lien. It uses some of the characteristics of municipal liens when it can, but it also uses some of the characteristics of a mortgage when it can. So essentially, it's the first position behind any municipal liens, which means it's a very secure piece of that particular property. There's some interesting characteristics of a CPACE assessment. It's transferable. So in the event of a property sale or foreclosure, the CPACE lien carries over to the buyer, or it can. It's non-acceleration, which means if there's default or delinquency, the entire principal isn't due, only the amount that is in arrears. Even if it goes through a foreclosure process, you essentially can't pull forward future years of delinquency. So it does not accelerate. Similar to if you foreclose on a property, you can't pull forward future tax years and have those paid for. So that is one of the key reasons why capital providers or existing mortgages, liens, or encumbrances are willing to consent to this particular project coming into place and taking that first position. There's two tracks of delinquency. If a property owner is delinquent on CPACE alone, but not on municipal taxes, then the CPACE lien essentially follows the pathway of or foreclosure pathway of that of similar to a mortgage, but the CPACE lien has the same rights and powers as the municipality. But if the CPACE lien is in arrears at the same time that the mortgage, at the same time that the municipality is experiencing some form of default or delinquency, then it all defaults to the municipality's process for delinquency. Here's a couple key characteristics. Eligibility must be for an energy savings improvement, which we have a relatively complex definition with the different categories of what is considered. Some of the obvious ones like VRFs or heat pumps and solar and EV charging are all categorically considered energy savings improvements, but there's other more complex products that could be eligible if they meet the definition. But it must be an energy savings improvement for commercial property located in a participating municipality. New construction is eligible only if the energy savings improvement is considered above code. So you can't just put in weatherization up to code. It has to be above code. That does not include stretch code. So if something meets stretch code, which some municipalities have adopted, then it would be considering exceeding code still. Basically, we're not penalizing municipalities for having adopted the stretch code. The mortgage holder must provide consent to the financing coming into place. The financing terms, they're limited to the cost of the energy savings improvement. The term length can be as long as the weighted useful life. So if there's multiple measures being installed as energy saving improvements, the weighted average useful life is what you can use for the longest term length. The savings to investment ratio has to be greater than 1. So these projects will be demonstrated to be financially beneficial to the borrower, which means there's going to be, more dollars available in that community. And also the assessment to value, the CPACE assessment can only be 35% of the value of the property. So even in new construction, there's no CPACE financing that will be more than 35% of the value. And they're also, you can't have more than 100% of the property leveraged. We do have all these projects signed off by a Maine state engineer. That engineer does not need to be a third party, and they do not need to have performed the calculations, but they do need to review the project and provide their signature and license to be able to, or their credentials to be able to certify that a savings to investment ratio is greater than 1, and there's a number of other conditions on that particular document. Getting near the end here, this is a very quick overview of the different parties to a project. And as you can see, the only that have requirements to participate are capital providers who must register and meet different criteria for us to approve them. Any bank or credit union would likely be fast track to approval, but some of the other types of lenders in a CPACE program are accredited investors and there's other criteria met. So we have pretty strict capital provider registration guidelines that are available on our website. as well as local municipalities need to participate by adopting a CPACE ordinance. And if they want to participate in Efficiency Maine's program, they must execute a municipality's CPACE participation agreement. And all of those are drafted on our webpage as well. The guidelines is a really key area to start to understand the program. We also on our webpage have a, I'm going to stop sharing because we're getting to the question section. We also on our webpage have a municipality participation guide that really shows what the lift is for a municipality to participate. Really quickly to get in front of the two tracks, to be to adopt the program entirely, you would have to adopt an ordinance, which we have a model ordinance available on our webpage for review, the CPACE page on Efficiency Maine. So Efficiency Maine/C-PACE. We also have the municipality participation agreement, which would be the second material that the municipality would need to sign. That is all that is needed to participate. Now, for a project to move through a municipality, there's an additional document that would need to be signed, which is a CPACE assessment agreement. And that is a three-way agreement between the municipality, the borrower or the property owner, and the capital provider. And there's just a number of terms and conditions in that document. But primarily what it's doing is the municipality is assigning the capital provider as its agent for collection. So the municipality does not need to collect any CPACE assessments or collect any of these CPACE liens throughout the project. It's really empowering the capital provider to do to perform all of those tasks. So the only administrative lift aside from signing that document on an ongoing basis for a project is if there's a default that if there's delinquencies or defaults in the foreclosure process has gone through, then the municipality, after making themselves whole, would need to remit any remaining payments to make the CPACE assessment current to the capital provider. And those are the only lifts on an ongoing basis for the municipality efforts. So I can pause there. I know that's a healthy dose at 8 o'clock in the morning, but I'm happy to answer questions and clarify any different points of the program that you have questions on.
Thanks, James. We do have a question from a stakeholder. Is there a precedent or model in place for properties that are HUD subsidized senior affordable housing that is privately owned and managed? In other words, I think part of this too is if they're receiving funding from like Maine State Housing Authority, does that impact the eligibility of having a PACE?
It does not, as long as it's a commercial building, with the caveat that the property does need to be subject to municipal real estate taxes. In some cases, I know those may be covered, or some municipalities have done, long-term land leases or something to that effect. So as long as the property is subject to municipal real estate taxes and municipal taxes, then it is still eligible, and it doesn't matter how subsidized the property may be.
Thanks. Anybody else have questions?
I have a question. Did you mentioned there were 2 towns in Maine, or 2 cities that already, or 3?
Three.
Westbrook and Cumberland.
Portland.
They're not on the list yet.
No, they're not on. Portland's not on the list. Let's beat Troy Moon.
No. We move that fast.
James, this was very helpful. I think we'll tap into some of the resources on the website so that we can get something moving here. I think we'll take a consensus vote at the end here if this committee would wish to pursue supporting an ordinance, and we'd have to get it through our ordinance committee and then to town council for approval. So we're hoping by year end we can have this opportunity, if that's so the desire of the committee. I'm not speaking for my fellow members. But
I
it
actually
would,
have a question
Go.
also. So James, you mentioned that EV charging is an eligible activity. So the town, that is the case, even though we have a requirement in Scarborough for EV charging. So they can meet our local ordinance requirements using CPACE.
Yeah, as long as that isn't something that is implicitly required in the MUBEC base code. It doesn't matter if there is an additional ordinance that requires it via the municipality or the town. So in that case, it would still be eligible. With something like that. It would likely be paired with other projects because it does have to have an energy savings improvement of greater than 1. So unless they're able to demonstrate some form of positive cash flow or something to that effect with EV charging, they would likely couple that with other savings improvements, so solar or something, or heat pumps that have higher SIRs or are likely to trigger higher SIRs. So that's a great way to have more comprehensive projects. There's really two different. The program works pretty differently with new construction projects versus retrofit. In new construction projects, the property owners and capital providers are really trying to include this mix and match of a bunch of different energy savings improvements and utilize CPACE as part of their capital stack. Really what they're hoping to do is replace mezzanine debt. So the first 15% of buying a project is their down payment, and their primary investors. Then it's usually their mortgage, which covers a good deal of the project. And then there's usually a remaining balance that they're trying to cover. And that remaining balance is typically through something like mezzanine debt or preferred investor. And it's very, very expensive and usually has high interest rates and short terms and can turn projects upside down. So usually what they're trying to do is fill that 10 to 15% gap with CPACE financing. So what you'll often see is in new construction, they're starting to add energy efficiency and energy savings improvement measures across their project in any way that they can, increasing their R value of their weatherization, changing their heating systems, adding EV charging, whatever it may be. And then they end up with 15 to 20% of the project being financed from CPACE. Retrofits is a little bit harder because it is usually done one at a time. So they might start looking at more comprehensive retrofits. I'm not sure how that ordinance mandates. Is it for EV chargers for new construction buildings, or is it that all properties need to be updated to EV charging by a certain?
No, this is during new construction or site plan review that kicks in an ordinance that requires EV charging, whether it's a station fully capable or we have the infrastructure in the ground ready for that sort of service.
That's awesome. So in this case, it sounds like that ordinance is already forcing the hand of that availability, but what the CPACE will do is help make it more affordable and more feasible, so that that project that might be right on the cusp of being financially capable of moving forward would have that extra push and that extra leverage to be able to move forward.
Super. Anybody else have questions? James, thank you very much. We might have you do a little song and dance on the municipal lease product that the Efficiency Maine Green Bank, I understand, has.
Yeah.
We'd love to tap into your resources that may enable municipalities to do energy savings improvements and get financing, but it's called a lease and not a loan, which I know if we had the bean counter up here, that would be a smile on his bottom line. So we want to include him in the conversation. So that's why maybe we'll do that at another time, if you're willing to do that for us.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And the next stages you said where this would move to council.
No, we would go and take the information that you have provided, the Green Bank has provided, and get an ordinance drafted and sent to our ordinance committee, who will then make a recommendation to the town council with a thumbs up or down, and then it's the town council's purview to either say yay or nay.
Awesome. Yeah, if there's any additional questions or some of our municipality finance directors or some of those through the operations of the municipality have had additional questions. If that comes up at any point, I'm happy to be looped into one-on-one conversations or do small Q&A sessions, whatever would help aid the municipality in making their decision.
Well, appreciate that level of support.
I just have one question. April, do you think if this does move forward to ordinance, it would be helpful to have James be on at the ordinance committee, just doing this presentation?
I really do.
So we were wondering if you might be available for an ordinance committee, similar to what you did this morning, presentation for that group. Those are usually on the third Thursday.
Second Thursday.
At 4 o'clock. So they're pretty regularly scheduled, but I think that would be really helpful. To have it available.
Our next regularly scheduled ordinance committee meeting would be Thursday, October 12th at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, I don't know if we be able to get the draft ordinance together and get it in front of ordinance by then on their
Well,
agenda.
That's a question, I think, for Autumn. We do have the model ordinance that Efficiency Maine has put out. Well, what you could do is have on October 12th, just
do the
information,
intro.
have the intro and then.
Yeah, okay, that's a good idea.
So that might be a good way to
Yeah.
get it started.
If you can lock and load that date, and I'll talk to you, make sure you're plugged in. If you can lock and load that, that would be awesome.
Yeah, what time is it on the October 12th?
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. And they can do virtual, right?
Yes, virtual is fine.
Yeah.
Just a 15-minute,
Yeah.
probably conversation. The ordinance committee is usually loaded.
Yeah.
With the items, so.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be as extensive as what you provided us, just that overview of participation and the value added that Scarborough would have for its
Yeah.
development community.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I'll likely need a remote link in whatever to join the meeting, but I can block that time on the calendar.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Anything else?
So then this group should review the model ordinance and.
Yeah.
Well, we're not gonna be able to if it's October 12th.
Well, but they're not, the ordinance committee won't see the model.
Oh, yeah, you're just giving it up, you're kind of giving the highlight of it.
Set the
Okay,
table for
yeah,
it.
yeah. So maybe we should get that model ordinance
I'll send it out.
sent. While James is on, maybe we can get a motion to move this forward through our committee to the ordinance committee.
So.
We got it, all in favor? All right, we're gonna make a move. Stay tuned.
Thank you guys so much for having me. And please let me know if you have any questions that pop up.
Thank you, James.
Enjoy the peach state.
Yeah, enjoy your vacation.
Thanks for talking to us on vacation.
Take care, all.
Talk to you later. There, I think that's pretty insightful.
That
Something we should
seems
do.
really straightforward.
know,
I mean, I want to read through the ordinance to make sure it's not. And y'all need to read through the ordinance to make sure it's not, but.
What's really great about that is
the EV charger example is fantastic. Hey, we require these. Hey, but we also enable this method to. fund
help
them.
finance it.
So let's add some other things.
Yeah.
I think the way you think.
Well,
As they say, I like the McDonald's line.
Bring that.
You'll see what's on it.
some percentage of the building cost and efficiency updates, which makes the rest of the financing easier. Like,
Right.
it's a,
Sure.
wow, you should do this thing.
Yeah, it's almost, oh, we're gonna make it better so we get better rates.
What's the status of the residential program?
It's pretty active. We had through the Obama, whatever acronym that was, the IRA, no, whatever, back in the Obama days, Efficiency Maine received quite a bit of money to establish the loan pool for CPA. So we actually have that capital.
Okay, so that.
Yeah, and now it's perpetuating, we're getting revenue back in off the loan payments and we issue more loans.
Is that something we should be advertising?
It's pretty well subscribed. But it's available, but we're finding that there's also, when the interest rates were low. It was better for homeowners to like do a home equity.
Yeah, okay.
And that kind of thing, so. But generally speaking, the PACE loan is a really good avenue for those that maybe have a lower credit score. Because some of it can be, what's the word I'm looking for? Obligation free. You're not having to put down collateral or anything like that. Unsecured loan. That's the word I was looking for.
Okay. What kind of savings are we talking, 1% or 2%?
It all depends on the project, but it's, again, it has to pay for itself over time of that investment or that energy.
Do you mean financing?
Yeah.
costs?
Financing.
Like, do you have a?
I don't know what the interest rate is right now. I can probably get that information. I think some of it has to do with the lenders. I think they can have some say in that because they're doing the administrative work. So they have to actually recover their costs, but that's a good question. Get that.
All right, so.
All right.
we should read this ordinance and prepare to discuss at our October meeting. He will present the ordinance in October. We might, in October, be ready to send it to ordinance for ordinance to discuss in November. And then it does its thing.
Then if they make a recommendation
Just send
to
it to
town
council.
council, then we're,
Then-
this ordinance would not have to go through planning board, right?
Depends on how it's written.
We'll write it so it doesn't.
Okay. I can do that. Chapter 315.
You read what they wrote,
Yeah.
and see if it's at that stage or
Yeah.
not. Okay,
I don't think it would need to go to planning board.
okay. Would we need James back for council, or is ordinance committee enough to carry that to council?
That's a good question. Let's see how ordinance committee goes, and if it's as straightforward to members of ordinance as I think it is, then we can probably just make the recommendation to council and not have James present to the
And
full
maybe not
council.
on it, let's just say that committee.
Sure.
had the ordinance.
Yeah.
Heard this presentation,
Yeah.
efficiency meeting.
Yeah.
And maybe you can talk to somebody in those communities
Mm-hmm.
that have approved it, just so you can say, I've talked to.
And I was looking at how dates align, so it looks like our next meeting will be October 25th, which would give us a week to kind of, if we need to make any changes before we send the ordinance to the ordinance committee, it'll give us about a week to do that before it needs to get to them for their packet.
That sounds like a really good timeline.
Mhm.
Thanks, Efficiency Maine, for doing all the work for us. Awesome. Oh, I
That's
love
what it gets
it.
paid to do.
Because financing has been such.
It was a gap. And it always is a gap.
Yeah.
But, and James spent a fair amount of time trying to identify all the different gaps so that he could craft this.
Yeah.
I like the way it turned out, so I think it would be good.
And the vendors have done some work on filling the financing gap.
Well, we
This is
have,
another bigger piece.
we have financial, institutions signed up.
Yeah.
So that's nice.
List, yeah.
yeah.
That's
Do you know who they are?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's on-
think Camden Bank is one, Anderson Bank, I think.
Oh, those were not on this list.
Well, then maybe I'm thinking the municipal lease,
Okay,
which we'll talk
Um,
about.
it was all entities that were not like kitchen table names.
Oh, so these are big, probably a conglomerate of private investors that put up a bunch of capital and they make money off the investments.
So it was somebody called Counterpoint, SRE, and Nuveen Green Capital and the Pace Loan Group. So it was not like.
I'm sure they're
Yeah.
national and they're involved in other PACE programs in other states.
So especially the one that's called Pace.
PACE, you think they did them,
Yeah, think.
just like those remind me of the days of Electricity Maine,
Yes,
how they
yes.
got us confused the market a little bit. Anyway, good discussion.
Okay.
We'll move forward then.
All right, so next is just Sustainable Scarborough Day, since it is Sunday. And fortunately, the weather looks way better than it did a week ago when I started checking. So it looks like 70 and sunny, so we should be outside for the event. As a reminder, it is 10 to 2 at Wentworth School. Committee and volunteers are asked, planning committee and volunteers are asked to arrive at 8 to begin setup. And so that we can just kind of get our bearings for the day. Vendors who are having tables will arrive at 9. The event will start at 10. Our workshops are all scheduled. I'm looking at my cheat sheet. I pulled together information for the planning committee so they know.
Can I just interrupt you and say that Jamie has done a bang up
Oh,
job
yes,
coordinating these meetings.
Oh, thank you.
And in our last meeting, Steffi from Project Grace, who plans a lot of big complicated things, specifically praised the work that Jamie has done in pulling this together. Sorry. Go ahead. It's just been phenomenal.
Thanks. So, well, I mean, we'll see how Sunday goes.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah,
I feel like it's kind of, you know,
Anything
Out
can
to the
happen, but
universe
I
at this
think-
point.
I think that you've really been robust in considering the things that we've talked about.
oh, thanks. Yeah, I mean, now we're just dealing with the little fires, like one of our food trucks dropped out today, so
Oh,
if
God.
anyone knows a food truck that isn't already booked on Sunday, we need another one, or we would like
Oh,
another one.
Is there a group chat for these food trucks? There's gotta be, doesn't?
For sure, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I have a friend who knows a lot of the food truck owners, and I reached out to him. I'm like, any chance you know someone that isn't already booked on Sunday? I mean, it is what it is at this point. So hopefully we're planning on 2. If we have 1, it's better than none. So it is what it is. So broken out all of our like setup tasks, notes for volunteers for, interacting with vendors and just making sure they're all set, things that we need to do at the end of the day, for breakdown. So at the sustainability committee booth, we will have, I'm not really calling it a raffle, but the drawing for the, heat pump water heater that is outside of council chambers. And we'll also be giving away a rain barrel and a lobster trap compost bin. So we'll have those at the table as well. So it's basically someone decided to take lobster trap like mesh and do it in a big roll that you then open up and connect the ends, and it makes kind of a contained area for your compost. And it's actually, the little plastic earth machines that the town also has, those are nice and contained, but they're not that easy to work with. So this is more open, more airflow. Theoretically, the compost could form more quickly and it's easier to manage. So we'll be giving away those.
Both. Mine wasn't lobster wire, but yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I think Project Grace is working on getting some more giveaways that they'll have at their table, and they said that they were going to give some to the sustainability committee table as well to use as part of the raffle or the giveaway. So we're hoping to get more people signed up for the town's e-newsletter. So we're saying, sign up for the e-newsletter, you'll get your raffle ticket as kind of an incentive. And if people say, oh, I'm already signed up for the e-newsletter, they can get a raffle ticket also. So we'll have a sign up sheet there. And then I had sent around with the agenda and I'll share it, the kind of the poster that I've been working on, the 2 cents for sustainability to get people. Let me see, I can't find my mouse, there it is. To get people to kind of weigh in on the work that we have been talking about over the past couple months. So it's a big 20 by 30 poster that we'll have on display with these different categories. It's changed a little bit since now, or since this. And asking people to give us their 2 cents, which will be these little stickers that kind of look like pennies, small pennies. And so they can get, 2 or 3 dots to put within the squares or write out other ideas that they might have for us that we haven't thought of, to help kind of weigh in on the work of this committee, and also the transportation committee. So we had talked about having conservation provide us with some ideas for land conservation, 30 by 30 and things like that, or we had said last time lawn care products and stuff, but unfortunately the Conservation Commission didn't meet in September, so they weren't able to kind of give us that feedback. So I asked transportation if they had other ideas, and so this will be changing with some of the ideas from the
Did you add,
transportation.
public transit?
That's going on there.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so some of the wording on there will change, and I'm not sure about if they want to keep EV charging on there or not.
Or at least move it over to slot 3 or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the slots are in no particular order. It's just the order that they popped into my head and I threw them on there. So if you guys want them reordered, you can. There's kind of no priority with that. And then there's space for people to write in other ideas that they might have. So we'll have, that option there at the table as well. And then I've grabbed handouts. So I did get the information from CMP on their new rate classes. So we'll have that at the table. We'll have information about recycling. We've got recycling magnets. So what can and cannot go in the recycling bin. And also lists of what's recyclable. I believe EcoMaine will have some of the same, but that's fine. There are other items that you guys want for handouts at the table or information for the public to have.
Just a question, do you know, is Conscom or anybody gonna do sort of sustainable lawn maintenance, native plants, planting more trees?
So Conservation Commission is not having a table there, but we will have groups there representing those interests. So we have a presentation happening called, well, it's part of the state, kind of the state and regional yardscaping program, which is about healthy lawn care, but it's called Lawns to Landscape. So talking about pollinator gardens and edible landscapes, rain gardens and things like that, how to incorporate that into your landscape instead of a lawn. And then you'll be there with the Scarborough Garden Club. Friends of Scarborough Marsh are going to be there with, I believe, with some healthy lawn care information as well. So so while Conservation Commission isn't doing a table, there will be others there with information about that. And the Soil and Water Conservation District, who's doing the Lawns to Landscapes, they'll also have a table there with that
And
information.
Mark's coming to talk about more.
Yes.
Oh, is Mark gonna be there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw his name on the list.
The garden club, we're gonna have a big raffle thing. On my truck, I'm leaving to go over and buy a couple $100 worth of native pollinator things.
Nice.
That's
Awesome.
That's great.
This is gonna be a great day.
It really is.
And
Yeah.
so the next thing is just making sure that your own personal network is aware that this is happening.
Yeah.
So there is a Facebook post on the town page that I've actually seen a couple of times through my own networks.
Yep.
And forwarded this morning like that. I follow the town, but somehow don't see these things until much later because Facebook sucks. And so that's where it's important for us to get them on our personal
Yeah,
pages.
and the more sharing that you can do, the more it will just automatically pop up in people's news feeds also.
Right,
Yeah.
so that's a task for everybody, if
Yep,
you're on
I'll
Facebook to go.
Make sure to share that
And
today.
I don't know what other platforms you're on.
Sorry,
I
what,
don't know what other platforms the town is on that.
Instagram.
Okay, so I don't do that, but if somebody else does, they'll just follow, push that one, whatever.
Steffi
I'm not
really
on
does a lot of that stuff.
Right, but each of us need to be doing that. Anybody who has those accounts or uses those accounts.
Yeah, and we've asked the groups that are participating to share with their networks and have provided them with the information that either if they want to do their own posts or if they want to go to the town's Facebook page or the Sustainable Scarborough Day event page on Facebook to share that information out with their networks.
And I'm just realizing I shared it with my personal network, but not with my neighborhood network. So if
Okay.
you've got a
Yeah, I
neighborhood
can
network
share
on
it into
Facebook,
the regular
That's gonna be an important one as well, because the algorithms
Yep, I'll
manage
do that.
those differently.
Yeah, so signs went out last week around Oak Hill. We'll have a few more up at the farmer's market on Sunday, so hopefully we'll drive some foot traffic from the farmer's market down to
I got it
Wentworth.
on the sign out front here.
Yep. And it's supposed to go on the library sign and on the sign at the Sedco building. Although they're very limited in what the amount
number
of
of
words.
characters.
Yes,
They need to update that
characters. Yeah.
sign. It's an old sign.
Yeah,
It is.
It is.
Maroon did good though.
What about like at Lois's?
So, yeah, Marla Zando, sent the flyer to the school, so hopefully it will, if it didn't go out in last week's e-newsletter with the schools, hopefully it will go.
So it might have gone out last week. Letter from the school.
And our October, town e-newsletter goes, our first one goes out October 1st, so Allison was going to schedule that for early in the morning. So that
Oh.
hopefully and put Sustainable Scarborough Day information towards the top, so hopefully people will see it. Like I said, it's gonna be a great day, so hopefully people will think to come out to Wentworth. I've been doing my Sundance for a while now, so.
It's worked.
I'm
I think it's gonna work.
Are there any athletic games that day? Because that whole area.
Not on
like-
Sunday.
Yeah, no,
Well, it could
school.
be soccer,
Yeah. it'd be
but not
fun.
school ball because schools can't play on Sunday.
Yeah,
Well, that would draw some people.
Yeah, soccer would. That's usually a good crowd. Yeah. All right.
so that is that. We'll be working on getting things moved down to Wentworth on Friday and then bright and early on Sunday, getting everything set up and ready to go.
8 o'clock.
And in terms of pictures, our volunteers and our planning committee have been asked to take pictures throughout the day. We just have to be cognizant of if there are kids there and things like that. We're not having any kind of release or anything like that for faces and things like that. So we'll need lots of options and probably like unfortunately wider angles unless we know the specific children and kind of get verbal parental permission to use them in
And
publications.
so
and
if you
things like
have
that.
any specific children.
Yeah. If you have children.
They're really scale.
Photos of them having a lot of fun.
Put a dot on their back collar and that says, okay, that kid is allowed to be photographed.
My children have done this work for us before.
Yeah.
Mine too. Mine are
Oh, it's too funny.
I know. I
They're
know you
gorgeous
stayed-
and now 4 and 6 and
Oh,
all.
perfect, yes, yes, 4,
Gorgeous.
6 is nice. 16 and 18, not so much.
And we're still getting people asking if they can come set up tables. So yesterday we had Rachel Carson Wildlife Refuge reach out and they're going to bring like a safety archery set for kids to use. It's like this big inflatable thing with like suction cup.
People are gonna
Arrows?
not think of this as such a cool thing, and they're not gonna come because they don't understand how cool it is.
Yeah.
So
We sound so.
Did the school building committee reach out?
they did not.
It's not too late.
If they want,
I'll tell them it's not too late.
they want a table.
Okay.
We've got, I mean, it's outside around the bus loop, so. We're basically going to mark off using chalk, mark off like 12-foot spaces along the bus loop and people can choose their spot and set up. We're not pre-assigning or anything like that, so. I think we've got around 25 groups signed up so far, so we should be able to fit more.
That in itself to me is.
That's awesome.
For the first time.
Yeah.
That's
This is
awesome.
what I'm saying. Jamie has really done some.
I think I used the word tiresome when I
I mean, you guys can hold praise until like Monday morning. Let's get through it and see how it goes and.
There'll be a critique meeting at O'Reilly's Cure at 3 p.m.
Oh, like the planning has been phenomenal.
Yeah, it'll be
All
successful.
the graphics, everything.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you want to do 15 feet instead of 12? I'm an artist. I do a lot of craft shows, not craft shows, art shows, and the tents are 10 to 12 feet.
Yeah, they're usually 10 by 10, so, I mean,
Some are-
yeah, if you think 15 is more comfortable.
Well, you can't really walk between things.
Mhm.
You have plenty of space, right?
I think so,
Yeah.
yeah. Like I said, this is our first one, so I think we're gonna have lots of lessons learned, and notes of things that we wanna do differently next time, so. I mean, I haven't finalized my list yet, so I can easily change that 12 to a 15 before I send this out to everyone.
That's a little tight.
Mhm.
Well,
Okay, thank you for that
most
feedback.
places give you 15.
Okay,
And next year we need to order t-shirts for volunteers.
yeah, I think this year, volunteers will be wearing leis, Hawaiian leis. Or something.
Who thought of that? Oh, that was Stephanie, wasn't
Well,
it?
yeah, Steffi was like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
that's
see,
right.
like, just
Steffi did
volunteer ribbons or something, and I was like, that's really more professional, because I was thinking Hawaiian leis, and she's like, I'll get those too, so.
Yeah. Anything that just makes it obvious who the.
Yeah, who to ask if you have questions and things like that.
are. So excellent. And yes, we should have t-shirts because, and those t-shirts should be like forward thinking, like t-shirts you could just wear to Hannaford's next week. type of
Right.
Things like ask me about sustainability kinds of t-shirts.
Yeah,
On the back.
I
or
love that
whatever.
idea.
We should have t-shirts anyway.
Well, we used to have t-shirts. I mean, we have historically had t-shirts. I still have
The bees,
one
the.
t-shirt.
are you gonna take it out and wear it on Sunday? I think you should, if you
I'm
can.
not
find
sure I
it.
can squat into it. They are human.
Put it on one of your kids and it'll get photographed.
I don't think you're gonna see my kids. My teenagers are not cooperative and their rebellion involves like being ecologically unsound, so.
They'll
It's
come
a
around.
phase.
They'll come around.
They'll come around, because my older children.
All right.
both work for.
Anything else,
organizations.
Jamie, on that?
I think that's it.
All right, can you pop up the agenda one more time?
Oh, yeah. That was, those were the, oh, and then, oh, yeah, just our updates, so. We wanna do town council and planning board. Updates?
Sure. So town council unanimously approved the proclamation to declare October 1st Sustainability Day in Scarborough.
It was
So,
unanimous.
and it was unanimous, and aside from that, we're still working our way through the purchase agreement for the school project and the different pieces of that have to go to planning board and then come to us, or go to us and then planning board. John Anderson is going to be kind of giving a timeline update at our meeting next Wednesday to make sure the public knows what the public process is going to be, because we put a little bit of extra process in to try and engage the public to make sure that everybody knows what's going on.
They're getting grouchy.
Oh, I am well aware of the grouchy. I think that's it for me.
In terms of planning board, our last two meetings have been somewhat skeleton.
We're saving them up for.
Yeah. Thanks for doing it.
You're running it. Sorry.
Yeah, but we did do some weigh in on some ordinance or zoning changes that are now going before the council. Other than that, there isn't really anything significant. You can see the building is coming in real good along where the cabinet, the old, what was it? Cliff's
Antique
house?
shop. Yeah.
What's
the
that gonna
antiques,
be?
Cliff's Antiques.
Professional suites,
And what's going to, Gold Wedding building?
bank.
The Chase,
Bay.
Yeah,
And Evergreen Credit Union is the
At
one
Dunstan.
Dunstan.
The kids have all.
which is
yet-
love, I mean, they really have made that site,
There's
They
only
turned that
one way
around
to
really
justify
quickly.
their bank fees is to build
so
more.
many back then.
But there are so many banks. The kids were all telling me it was gonna be Aroma Joe's. So I was like,
Aroma Joe's is coming for a site plan for Bridge Street in Payne Road.
Oh,
it's not very close to Scarborough High School. They need a location by Scarborough High School.
all right,
Not gonna be by-
I think that's it for the agenda.
I think it is.
Anybody else have anything?
So we had our transportation town.
Oh,
hall
yes.
meeting last night.
Oh, yes.
And the maps and dots and activities are in my office. If anybody has anything they want to share or tell us. We had, images of forward thinking for Haggis. We're thinking about doing that more as a boulevard. And so shared use path or sidewalks, on-street bike lane, that kind of thing. And then general mobility, just any hot spots in town that you have concerns with. And then for hiking and biking, we did 2 exercises. One where you showed us where you live and where you want to be able to go, and then where you don't feel safe. So, yeah, so if you want to take a look at those, you can roll them out and
Yeah.
got extra stickers, so.
Did they address the
Just
corner
like
of,
consequences.
Black Point Road and Eastern Road?
I think some people put some dots on that location.
Oh, yeah, where the blinking light is.
It is better than it was.
It is
That
way
was
better
narrow
than it
and
was.
people can't go around and hit bicyclists when you try to stop for them.
It was we had a pretty good turnout. It was the steady flow. It was from 4 to 8. We had a good group and quite a bit of input. So
Good.
Yeah.
I'm sure Jen was happy.
I'm behind the curve
Mhm.
on that issue, but I was going up Route 1 the other day. And there were people standing on the northbound side waiting for a bus. And on the southbound side, there's a bus shelter. What interest, responsibility for more bus shelters? There's a lot of bus traffic. And people seem to use it.
We just met with it depends on what
Bus
bus
line.
was coming through, right? What
Saco
line.
Bedford,
Yeah,
yeah.
we met with the Bedford Saco Old Orchard Beach group a couple of weeks ago. They use some of the shelters. We don't participate in that quite a bit from a town perspective. So
shouting about it,
it's
but-
still,
Yeah, so the shelter that is there on Route 1, I think was paid for by Martin's Point. And yes, ideally, both bus shelters appear on both sides of a road, but Bedford Saco, I mean, I used to ride them over there a lot. They're scraping by as best they can, and they'll just take whatever they can get for whoever's willing to give it to them. And so they don't have the funds to, and we haven't provided the funds to put those matching money. But that's something that transportation committee is aware of.
It's a good conversation to have with GP cog too.
Yeah.
They're always trying to develop that portion of their services regionally, and it's really, really hard
And the
to
other
sync everybody's
piece
public
that I bring up
transportation
every
up.
time we talk about this is a few designated parking spots for park and ride. At those bus shelters, because when I was riding the bus, it was a constant game of whack-a-mole. As soon as some business owner would tell me I'm not allowed to park
Park
there
there
during
all
the day, I
day.
would park somewhere else, and I got away with parking at Hannaford for a good long time, but as soon as somebody affiliated with a business noticed that you were using the park and ride, they'd get all mad.
Right.
But up in Topsom, a couple weeks back, I forget which parking lot I was in, but there were a couple of banks of spots, like far from the store.
Sure.
And if you can talk
Specifically
to some
for
of these
commuters.
entities about foot traffic, like if the cheese iron, even if those spots are behind the building, then a person can actually park. I've been yelled at by plow truck drivers, by bank tellers, and so I couldn't in good faith
Right.
ask people to ride the bus.
But they can park
They
there.
don't have a paper copy.
Because it was a kind of abusive experience.
Just trying to do the right thing.
And I mean, I don't care. Like, I'll just tell them. Dude, I'm
Not everybody has your fortitude, Dad.
You have to leave damn car somewhere. When the bus stop was at town hall, I was very open about it, nobody cared. But as soon as it moved away from town hall, things got up.
This is the park.
Yeah, so that, and it feels like it could happen with quick conversations with a couple of key business owners. I just don't, like, I was trying to get the bus crowd to do that, and they're like, yeah, we're not really doing Scarborough Field, don't ever give us any money, like, we're focusing our limited attention somewhere else. And so it may be on us to make those arrangements.
Rant over. Many of you have heard this before.
All right, rant's over, she said. Moving on. That's all the business we have today on the agenda. You know, we're cutting out early, but I could use the 20 minutes that I didn't know I was gonna have.
Yeah, you're gonna have 30 before I started my last. meeting.
Don't forget to share and
Yes.
Yep.
the media, you use it for sustainable.
Do we have more though, or?
I can print some out.